So welcome back. I'm still working on the barn, making a little bit of progress. Let me show you what I'm working on now. Alright, so I've made a little further progress down here, laying in the sill plate. I just have it temporarily supported from this point on until I can make it all the way down to that far corner. I still need to jack that up and cut those studs and lay the rest of the sill plate in. But until then, I've started removing some of the rot here. I got that stud replaced and this stud replaced. I still need to sister alongside them with the 2x6. But for now, before I continued on with that, I wanted to focus my attention back on these floor joists. So this space here I'm keeping open. Eventually my staircase it'll be on the other side, but it'll be in this space here. So I'm not adding any floor joists here, but I am adding one here. I have it cut to length and it's just resting in there. It's not attached yet. And that brings me over here to the winch. So what I'm doing is I've referenced this one here in the corner. So I've got the length of this. And I'm assuming that all the rest of the floor joists are that same length, or should be. And I'm taking that as the width of the barn. So anything that is out, so down here, I don't know if that shows up on the camera, you can see there's like an inch or so of gap between the wall and the end of the floor joist. I'm taking that as the wall has bowed out. So what I'm going to do with this winch is I'm just, as I'm working across, I'm going to just pull it tight and then bolt these joists in place. So first step is I actually have to knock them loose. These are spiked in place, so I'm going to pull the spikes out and drill holes through, and I've got some 1/2-inch bolts that I'm going to put through, 2 on each end, and attach them to the actual stud wall. So that should help hold it in place and prevent it from bowing out in the future. That's the idea anyway. And I'll be doing that. I'll be adding the floor joists in between each of the existing as I go. So before I went further down the wall, because there's a whole bunch of joists missing here, I wanted to make sure these were good and attached so that there was no risk of the walls bowing out further. So that's what I'm working on. I've got the joist attached. Ratchet strap on one side, and it's just hooked onto itself on the other. It's not really doing a whole lot other than just keeping the wall together. And now I have to knock loose this joist and this joist, clean them up, pull the nails out of them, and drill holes in them, and then reattach them to the studs. So that's what I'm working on. Holy frick. That's one loose. Heavy, holy. Oh. So it's denailed, and that was a lot of work. Way more work than I thought. That particular floor joist had a lot of nails and wires and spikes in it, so hopefully that's the hardest one, but time will tell. There's a lot more to go. So I'm going to come in 2 inches and drill through, and that's where I'll attach my bolt. Go. Okay, so as usual, things aren't going as planned, or at least there's more work than I had anticipated. I always wanted to flip the joists 180 degrees, and the reason for that is that over time they've sagged, right? There wasn't enough support. So they've sagged, and that's fine. I was going to flip them so that now they were bowed. It's easier for a bowed beam to sort of level out with gravity over time, and now that there's going to be more support, it shouldn't be such a big deal. The idea being they would sag out to be level. That's not going to be easy because this particular floor joist that I've been working on is notched on one end, and it's notched so that it will fit underneath, if I can get a shot here, underneath that sister 2x4. It was probably always notched, but then that 2x4 was just added on top. But now it's in the way, of course. So I have to remove that so that I can get the joist in place. So I'm going to work on that now. There we go. That's one. Sort of. Okay, before I can attach these joists, this one actually will go here, I need to knock this one free. There's a gap behind it. I don't know if that's showing up on camera, but I need to take that gap out. So I'll knock this one free just on this end so it's loose, it's not tied into the stud anymore, and then I'll be able to winch the walls back to where they should be, and then bolt these two joists in place. And once that one's in place, I can take this one down and work on that. good. Go. I'm just going to leave those finger tight for now because I have a feeling that the bolts will actually interfere with me drilling through the stud, so I'll have to take my time and take them out and then drill through and then put them back in. But for now I'm going to do this one as well. Okay, I didn't film any of that. It was a real struggle. The template didn't work out, and in the end I found a shorter drill bit which worked a lot better. But the problem being it wouldn't go all the way through all the material, so I guess it was alright in that it gave me a hole in which to reference that I could continue drilling. However, it was just annoying, really. Anyway, so it's in place now and the holes are in, so I'm gonna bolt it. do. I need a wrench to snug that up. I'll grab that now. 3/4. It's older than me. Alright, now I gotta bolt this one in place. Hopefully. Okay, the bolts are through. I'm just going to put the nuts on and crank them down. Gonna tighten this side. There we go. Remember correctly, I have to pull this. There we go. Then I can switch this. Okay, so those two floor joists are bolted in place. Now I'm just looking at this third one, the one that I knocked free on just one end. I think I'm going to take it down, denail it, take the spikes out like I did the other, and get it ready to bolt in place. It's going to be a little different, so let me show you. So on this end, it needs to be bolted to this stud just like these two here. But on this end of it, my header is actually going to go across here, and it will eventually be lagged through this stud into the header. So I can't really bolt it in place permanently, but I'll do that just temporarily until I'm ready to install my header. So at least then the barn has some support. So I'm just getting ready to do that now. I think there's only a single leg or spike holding this in place, so it should be fairly easy to knock that one free, I think. Famous last words. Alright, here goes nothing. Single spike, just like I thought. Okay, so it's been another long day. I'm getting ready to pack it in here. It's getting dark. I haven't had supper yet and I'm tired. Today's been a lot of lifting heavy beams up and down, and I don't really feel like I've accomplished much, but I guess if you think about it, I have pulled the walls back where they should be, at least on this end of the barn, and I now have those beams, at least two of them, one old and one new, bolted in place. So that's a lot better than the old rusty spikes that were there. The third beam that I just took down, I do have the spikes pulled out of it, and I did wrestle it back up into place. But once again, I've discovered that there isn't enough space for my drill, so I'm going to have to wrestle it down again, drill the holes, and then put it back up. So that's getting pretty tiring. I've done that too many times already today. You'd think I'd learn, but some lessons come to me the hard way. So let me show you what I have. Alright, so here's my three beams. This is the original one. It's now bolted. You can barely see those bolts there. The new 2x8's in place. It's bolted in place, and this is the third one that I just put in place. It's just sitting there. It's not attached yet. But I have to take it back. Well, actually, I can drill happily from this side because there's lots of space between these two studs. It's the other side that's actually going to give me trouble. So let me show you that. Same deal over on this side. This is the original one. It's bolted in place. This one I'm going to flip the bolts around the other way just to keep it all the same everywhere. And this one here, there's just not enough clearance here for me to put my drill in. So that's unfortunate, but it seems to be a hard lesson that I keep learning, or should learn at this point. This one's also going to be lagged in place, so I got to be careful. I can't use the same drill bit because then the threads won't engage on the lag bolt. So I need to be cautious about that. I can use the same drill bit through the joist itself, but not through the stud, and of course once the header's in place, not in that either. So I need to be mindful of that going forward. So I guess tomorrow, maybe after work, I'll fight that beam down again, drill the holes, and attach it. So that's what I've got. I wanted to get all this plywood that's been stacked here forever up and out of the way. So that's kind of why well, that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to get this done here. Once this is out of the way, then I have to start moving this wood and into this space, because this is now going to be done, and then once that's cleared out enough, I can put the header in and of course keep going with the joists all the way across. And then once I get to the back wall there, I still need to finish the sill plate going across and the sistering of the 2x6s and the ledger plate, but I'll get there. It's just I wanted to add some structure back before I started taking it away, so that's what all this was about. Get the structure back, tie the walls back together to prevent them from sagging and bowing even more. So that's done. So, well, at least here it's done. So I'll still need to work my way across. But this was sort of a first test of that theory. Can I use the actual winch to pull those walls in together enough to eliminate that space between the beams? And I've done that, and that's good. So that lets me know that even though the walls have bowed over time, they can be pulled back into place and locked in place with the floor joists and bolted. So that's going to be good. So I guess, yeah, tomorrow I'll just after work I'll wrestle this down and get that bolted in place. And once that's in place, I guess I'll have to start moving all this plywood. So probably the next time you'll see me, hopefully all this is moved and the joist here is attached, and at least temporarily on this end, because I can't really bolt it permanently because the header will be in the way. So that's what's coming up. So stay tuned, and thanks for watching.